Hello again, fellow YouTubers. Solomon Pleasant back with another Cardfight Vanguard deck profile. Now, for this one, it took me a while to build this, but I'm glad it's done, so let's just get started. So for this one, if you can't tell, this is my Granblue deck profile. Now, I had a Granblue deck originally, so this is just more of an update, really, but this is now my Ice Prison Granblue deck. So, let's just get started, and there we go. So to start off, we have Captain Nightkid as my starter. Now what he does is Forerunner skill and Carablast 1, put him into the soul, look at top 10 cards of your deck, search for one Granblue among them, and put him into the drop zone, and then shuffle. So, some people might have other starters in mind, like the Skeleton Assault Troops Captain, which can search at grade 3, or maybe even Peter the Ghosty, because he can put himself into the soul, drop 2 cards into the drop zone, and give you a card, but and those can be well used, but I personally like Nightkid because he allows me to look at the top 10 and I choose one specific one that I can use. So main things I use for Nightkid are if I haven't gotten a lot of things into the drop zone as of recent and I need something in there to get some of my combos off, or if I need a specific unit in there to, you know, do some desperate need things. So it's more of a desperate card, but it can still be used. So it's a nice 5k starter, and it can be used to sacrifice himself and just be like, okay, I'll die for you. And he can get into the soul pretty easily. So that's my starter. So for other grade zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4 Rough Seas Banshee. There we go. I keep mixing her up with the other one. Rough Seas Banshee is like Psychic Bird. Says, put this unit into the soul, and if you have Granblue Vanguard, draw a card. Pretty useful, pretty good critical trigger. It's good because it's crit, and because I can draw cards from it, and give it soul fuel. This deck doesn't really rely on soul, but when I need soul, I can just put them in there and spam it out like crazy. So it's nice to have 4 crit here. My next 4 cards are 1, 2, 3, 4 Ghoul Cannonball. Ghoul Cannonball is useful because he's a crit trigger, and I like crit triggers in this deck. So, nice to have him. He's a standard vanilla critical trigger, but nice crit to have. I then run 1, 2, 3, meh. It's like barely control. 4 Night Spirit. So as you can see, I run a Granblue Critical Cannonball deck. I've nicknamed it a Cannonball just because that's how it feels, because it's nothing but crit, so pretty much anytime I drive check, if it's a trigger, it's either heal or it's critical. Which allows me to get double crits off faster, which in Granblue you kind of want to get. You really want to kill your opponent as fast as you possibly can. Because sooner or later, your defenses are going to run out, and you're going to get screwed. So, pretty much, 12 crit. And Night Spirit's awesome. Use Night Spirit over Ghoul Cannonball, but still, nothing but crits. For my last trigger, I run... I'm missing one. I run 4 Dr. Rogues. Because I prefer Dr. Rogue over Rick the Ghosty because, I prefer Dr. Rogue over Rick the Ghosty because she looks better. And also it's a nice heal to have. And nothing too special, it's just a sexy heal. So, yay. And to finish off my grade 0 lineup, I run 2 Chappy the Ghosties. Chappy is there to say, hey, you don't have a card you need in the drop zone, I'll take the bullet for you and then get you one in the drop zone automatically. So, I would not run more than 3. 3 isn't okay, but I would not run more than that because he can really burn through stuff really fast when you really look at it, especially when you're low on deck. And this deck that I have can deck out if I do it enough. So, don't run too many, I just run 2. Now for the grade 1s. 1 Dragon Spirit. So So as you can tell, I'm using Cocytus. Now, I had 2 originally, but I realized that he isn't really that useful except for Cocytus, so he's pretty much there to be like, oh, Cocytus, you're on the rear guard for once. I'm going to support you and use that soul that you haven't used all game. And he doesn't show up that often, but when he does, he can be useful, so nice to at least keep 1. Same thing with this next one, 1 Evil Shade. Now, I have contemplated running 2 or maybe 3, but I feel like 1 is going to be fine, because he's a strictly Vanguard boosting unit that says when you can put top 2 cards of your deck into the drop zone, give this thing +4 and it becomes a 10k. And Dragon Spirit is a standard. Soul Blast if it's boosting Cocytus. Give Cocytus +5, so an 11k booster, basically. So this is the Vanguard 10k booster, and the whole thing is that it's Vanguard based, so I'm only using 1, because I have some other cards that I can use better that are much stronger that can be used to boost the Vanguard. But it's still nice to run 1, just for that off chance when I can get it out, I can just call him and then just be like, hey, you can help mill through stuff faster. Good job, Evil Shade. I run 3 Sea Strolling Banshee. This card is awesome. This is a really awesome card for Granblue. What it does is Soul Blast 1, when this unit is placed on rear guard from the drop zone, if you have Granblue Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, draw a card. So it's Cutlass, except more powerful, less costly, and all I need to do is call from the drop zone. Which, given Granblue's track record with calling things from the drop zone, that's fairly simple. So, really awesome card to have out. It's not really something you want to, like, just normal call, but if you have to, you can sacrifice it for fodder, or, you know, just do stuff with it. But it's there to guard, and it's there to be dead so it can come back later. It's a really good card to kill off really quickly so that you can get it back and either give it a power boost or just give it the ability of, hey, I draw. So, really awesome card. I would only run 3, though, due to the fact that it's a 6k, and it is going to take up some space. So, only run 3. Next, I run 2 Gustan. Now, some people would run more, but I think 2's plenty. Because it's enough where I can stop a couple attacks, but honestly, with Granblue, you really just want to kill him fast. You really just want to be like, hey, you're dead. Like us. And it would take up some spot that I could use for some power boosters like Evil Shade and Dragon Spirit over there. But it's still good to have 2 of him, and he's a good P-guard. He's a good P-guard. Moving on, I run 2 Samurai Spirits. Now this one I contemplated putting in the deck a couple of times, but I put him in and he can be really useful. Because the only other guy that counterblasts in this deck besides Night Kid is Cocytus himself, so I figured, hey, we can use the counterblast more often. So pretty much Samurai Spirit is there to be like, oh, Sea Strolling, you're on the field and you aren't doing anything. I'm gonna kill you, and then I'm gonna come out and take your place. Or I'm gonna kill you and I'm gonna come out and boost something that needs to be boosted. So his ability is actually from the drop zone. Counterblast 1, choose a Granblue rearguard and kill it, and if you have Granblue Vanguard, call this to rearguard. So, nice to have. I can understand using more of him, but I'm just only going to use 2 because it's a 7k, and Dragon Spirit and Rune and Evil Shade have their place in the deck, so it's just nice to have 2, though. So it's nice to have him. And finally, for my grade 1s, I run 3 Dandy Guy Romarios. The AK beat stick that says, hey, I'm going to help you boost and basically help you beat stick everything. He's a water-dripping dandy guy. Not much else to say there. Alright, next we have our grade 2s, and 1, 2, I run 3 Dragon Corrode Corrupt Dragons. That name. So, this guy is also really awesome when you combo him right. He basically says, when this unit is placed on rearguard from the drop zone, if you have a Granblue Vanguard, this unit gets +3. So it's a 12k instant when it's called from the drop zone, via Cocytus or any of my other grade 3 effects, and it can get power from 2 of the other grade 3s that I use. So it's something else that you really want to guard and just kill with. It's okay to call to rearguard if you're going to intercept with it. This guy is basically there to come out and die, and basically repeat. He is there to die, much like Sea Strolling is there to die. Sea Strolling and Corrosion are the two cards from the new extra set that are there to basically die and keep spamming. And since he's a zombie, that just makes it even more hilarious of the fact that zombie hordes keep coming back from the dead. Also, he's a 9k, so he's actually fairly good on his own, even without the power boost. So, nice card to have. Next thing I run, now, some people might wonder why I run this card specifically, and I'll kind of explain why. I run 2 Skeleton Demon World Knights. Now, since this is a Cocytus build, I use him because he can be useful when he needs to be. Basically, if I ride him, and basically if he's on Vanguard, if my opponent is at grade 3, so say he went first, or I'm grade locked and then he got to grade 3, I can discard a card, choose Ice Prison Necromancer Cocytus, and then ride him. So this card is pretty much there for that small little jam in case, basically there in case I get in a jam where I need to superior ride. So I can get to a grade 3 and not be grade locked. So, and he's a 9k, so he's fairly decent on rearguard. He doesn't really do much except help me superior ride, but he's good to use for when I need to superior ride. He can also help me get some stuff, and get like a thing in the drop zone like Corrosion or Sea Strolling over there. That way I can replace grade 1 or grade 2 with something I need to ride for Vanguard. So, I had 3 at a moment, and then I realized, yeah, he isn't something you want to have a massive amount of, so I dropped it to 2. The next card I do use 3 of is Ruin Shade. Ruin Shade's a boss. Everybody who plays Granblue knows she's a boss, but for those of you who don't, her skill is on Vanguard or Rearguard. You may pay the cost. If the cost is put the top 2 cards of your deck into the drop zone, much like Evil Shade over there, and if you do, this unit gets +2. So, kill the 2 cards from the top of your deck, get +2, make it an 11k. Pretty standard. It's a really good card in Granblue. That's why it's triple rare. It's really good. 3 or 4 is usually mandatory for most Granblue decks. If you're not running Ruin Shade, you're either A, really poor and can't afford her, B, really stupid, or C, using a build that doesn't really focus on milling. Which in Granblue, that's pretty rare. So, 3 of her. And for the rest of my grade 2 lineup, I use 3 Commodore Bluebloods. Much like Romario, he's there to beat stick. Pretty much there for the power when I need it. So, Blueblood is pretty awesome as a 10k beater. Not much else to say there. Finally, moving on to the grade 3s. I run 3 Ice Prison Necromancer Cocytus. Now, some would be like, what? I know what this deck build is, and you're using 3 more Cocytus than the other guy. Yeah, because I want Cocytus in the soul, so I need to make sure he gets into the soul, because I kind of need him in the soul for that special little gift there. He is fairly decent on his own, though, because with Limited Break, he gets +5, so that's another 5k that my opponent has to throw down. And he has a special little skill of Counterblast 2, and when he's placed on Vanguard, I can call something from the drop zone and it stays. So he's pretty special in his own right. He can help me get that 1 unit on the field if I need a unit on the field. He's okay for the break ride, but he's there for soul, for the most part. And in case he gets to rearguard, Dragon Spirit's over there. So there's 3 Cocytus. Next grade 3 I run. 3 Lord of the 7 Deadly Seas Night Mist. Good God, I love this break ride. This break ride is awesome for Granblues. What this break ride does is, when a Granblue rides this unit, you may choose 2 cards from the drop zone, give them +5, call them to rearguard, give them +5, and at the end of the turn they die. Also give the Vanguard +10. So I call out a Corrosion, give him +5, he's a 14, give him +3, he's now, he's now 17 by himself. Yeah, 17. Or call out Sea Strolling. I'm an 11k booster and an extra card in my hand. That's really powerful. His other skill's okay. It's during your turn, if you have 4 more Granblue rearguards, this unit gets +2 when attacking. Oh wait. He continuously gets +2 if I have 4 more rearguards. That's okay actually. I did not realize that. He's basically a 13k whenever I have 4 or more. That's okay. I barely use his ability, that continuous ability, because usually I want to have little to no cards on the field before I break ride him, but that's still pretty awesome, though. So, he's a good break ride. I use 3 because, again, I want to be able to have Cocytus in there and still have the other guy, but good to have a good amount of this break ride. And finally, the main star of the deck, 2 Ice Prison, Hades Emperor, Cocytus reverses. Cocytus reverse is Beast when he has Cocytus in the soul. When he has Cocytus in the soul, he gets +3 continuously. He gets +2 continuously, my mistake. So he's a 13k continuously. That is pretty awesome. His other ability is Limit Break. Take the top 3 cards of your deck, put him into the drop zone, and lock 1 rearguard. If you do, choose a Granblue rearguard from the drop zone, call it to rearguard, and it gets +3 till the end of the turn, and it doesn't die. So spam that with Lord of the Seven Deadly Seas, and I've got a 23k swinger, and all of my units, and most of my units, except for maybe 1, are going to have some form of a power boost. So do not mess with Cocytus Reverse, despite what some people think about him being one of the weaker reverses. Cocytus Reverse is a beast when he wants to be. So in a minute I'm going to show you the final formation for this deck, and that should be... So another thing about this deck that I should probably mention is its bouncing back factor. Now, let's say you got 4 damage, and you got some good stuff, and you got a good amount of stuff in the drop zone, and you only got 3 cards left. What you do is you break ride Cocytus Reverse, so you can Superior Call, and there's Sea Strolling, and a Corrosion. Superior Call Corrosion, give it +5, give it +3. Sea Strolling, give it +5. Activator Skill to Soul Blast 1. And draw a card, which is okay. Then you would call Ruin Shade and call Samurai Spirit, and depending on what you want to do, if you got like 1 card in your hand, depending on what you want to do, you could either lock Samurai Spirit right there, mull the top 3, mull the top 3, and get out a Sea Strolling, and get out like a grade 1 in there, like Sea Strolling right there, Samurai Spirit, or is Mario in there? Hey, Dragon Spirit's in there. Or, you know, yeah, just basically Soul Blast, basically get out of 1. If it's Sea Strolling, then you want Soul Blast and, you know, just get an extra card. But what we're going to do is just keep it like this. Ruin Shade would attack. Her skill would drop that and make it 11. Even if he or she guards that. This is a 28, 29, that's a 30k column right there. And if they guard that, your first check would be a crit. If they, let's say they P-guard it, give it all the corrosion right there. It goes to the hand. And a blue blood. So you can get a crit there. And then basically just swing in for a really powerful number. That's 15, 20, 25, 30. That's a 33k column. 33, let's see, so 15, 20, 25. That's a 28k, that's a 30k, and that's whatever you want to make that. So, overall, this can be a really powerful deck, and oftentimes people underestimate Cocytus, and basically the Granblue clan in general. And to their credit, I can somewhat understand why, but I really like this clan. This is one of my personal favorites. If you haven't seen the top 10 video with me and Monty, yeah, this is one of my personal favorite clans. I really love this clan, and with the support it got in set 13, it's become really boss, and it can be a really threatening clan. So, I guess that's all I have to say here. So this has been Solomon Pleasant, signing off.